Let's take a few moments to talk about wellbeing and what we think are the three main things that make our organisation a great place to work, or sometimes not such a great place to work. Wellbeing is about creating the right environment, the right leadership, and focusing on our resilience. It's about developing leadership driven by the values we want to uphold and about supporting staff so that they can develop their own resilience at a pace that is comfortable for them. Culturally, there is often reluctance to recognise the need for support from time to time, and then to actually seek out that support. Our lives are made up of many things, not just who or what we are at work. Other things in our lives have an impact on our work performance and vice versa. Many of our leaders and managers are not always on the lookout for the factors that from time to time affect our well-being, and they can adopt "it's not my business, I'm here to focus on what happens at work" type of attitude. This is because, for many of us, we're uncomfortable having authentic conversations with our teams, and therefore we may defer to processes such as performance plans and absentee management. Inevitably, this will put process before people and can lead to a downward spiral of performance and attitude. Let's start by looking at what line managers can do to help on a practical level. Think about the last time you came to work thinking about anything other than work. Happens a lot, yes? Unless you've had your brain removed as soon as you arrive at work, then however you are thinking and feeling is going to affect how you operate at work. If we asked 14 people who all worked together to plot their ups and downs for a year, what would we find? Two things would usually be apparent. Firstly, most ups and downs are not work-related. They're outside of work, things such as births, deaths, marriages, money and relationships. Secondly, and most worrying, would be that despite these people working together day in day out throughout the year, most would not have spoken about these issues to each other. Let's see how this works in practice. Dave is a uniformed constable, as in a pretty good place. With a wife and 2 kids, he is loving work, he's in steady state and doing well. He has submitted a trainee investigator application and is highly regarded by his supervision and colleagues. As time goes on, Dave's life outside of work starts to hit a few bumps along the road. His wife, who works for local authorities, has been told she may have to reapply for her own job as part of a restructure and may face redundancy if unsuccessful. Dave is supportive towards his wife and tries to reassure her, but he has concerns about bills, kids' holidays and the future if they drop down to one wage. To add to his woes, he finds out his mum has been diagnosed with dementia, and he realises he will be needed more and more by his parents as a carer. In work, nothing has changed. It's still full on. Only now he's not fully engaged and is regularly taking text messages from his wife and calls from his dad. He confides in a close colleague who offers some words of comfort but asks them to keep it to themselves as he doesn't want to jeopardise his TI application. His sergeant inspector, blissfully unaware, carry on as usual. Everyone is really busy. With everything on his mind, Dave isn't focused during a briefing and misses some vital information about a violent wanted person. As a result, later while on patrols he fails to identify the wanted person when they are present in a house he attends regarding a domestic. Later the police are recalled because the wanted person has badly assaulted the occupant, and Dave is given a telling off by the sergeant who says, "You'll never get on CID if you don't buck up, Dave." Dave starts feeling even more anxious and resentful that the job isn't thinking about him, given what he's got going on at home. After all, he's been a model cop for 15 years. His sergeant inspector are concerned over his drop in performance and talk about putting him on a performance action plan, but they are really scratching their heads and struggling to understand why this dip in his performance has started to occur. Nobody speaks to him to get to the bottom of it, because the culture is to appear resilient. This isn't resilience, it's avoidance. A few days later, Dave asks for time off as he needs to help his mum and dad out, and also because it's decision day for his wife's job. His request is refused due to staffing shortages. Dave neither tells his supervision what pressure he's under at home, and neither do they ask why he's asked for the time off. Dave's attitude is, what's it got to do with them? So he rings in sick. The inspector and sergeant aren't fooled and decide he isn't ill at all, so they start looking at escalating their focus on him. They put his TI application to the back of the queue. After all, there's plenty of others looking to be a TI, and they aren't ringing in sick. Dave is starting to fall out of love with the job. His colleagues move on as their careers progress, leaving him with no peer support, and he starts coming into daily conflict with his supervision. If only they understood what he was going through, perhaps he would be better off elsewhere. This is a lose-lose situation now for everybody. The job is at risk of losing a once great cop. It's costing huge management time and also money in lost productivity. The impact on Dave's mental health and others around him is damaging. They are now even less likely to open up when things get tough for them. Let's look at what could have been done differently. Let's see what happens when we do Wellbeing. So we know Dave is a great police officer, performing well and looking to progress with his TI process. Home life is going well until the problems with his wife's job and his mother's health start to cause some strains. But this time, when Dave opens up to a colleague, they urge him to talk it over with the sergeant, encouraging him that this is necessary so his supervision can understand how much pressure he's under. And they cite the leadership commitment the organisation has been pushing as evidence that it's okay to approach them. After all, if they are serious, they will want to listen. The Sergeant Inspector regularly asks their staff how they are feeling, checking in regularly with them on a one-to-one level and paying attention to their performance. Because of this approach, Dave feels comfortable enough to approach his sergeant. They sit down and over a cuppa, Dave explains what's happening, how worried he is, and how it's making him feel distracted and disengaged at work. He is worried that this will be misconstrued as a lack of motivation. Dave's sergeant is supportive and cites personal examples similar to Dave's current predicament and reassures him that now he knows he can cut him a bit of slack and do whatever he realistically can do to help him get through these challenges without affecting his work too much. Dave doesn't really need anything special just yet. He may need to access some financial planning that the sergeant has mentioned if his wife loses her job, but for now he's just relieved that he's been listened to and his line management aren't going to jump to wrong conclusions. We can see a win-win situation here. Dave feels supported at work because he is being genuinely listened to and is able to provide the support to his wife and parents, confident that he has the support at work. He can continue with his TI application, knowing that his supervision are aware of his personal circumstances. Having had a positive experience out of a difficult set of circumstances, Dave now feels he can spot the same signs in others and encourages them to speak up as early as possible. So, recognising in yourself the need for support and being confident that you'll be listened to by your line management and then being approachable and understanding is one of the keys to maximising well-being in the workplace. Ask yourself, do you feel comfortable to approach your supervision with issues outside of work? As a leader, what values drive your leadership approach? How do you know if the people you supervise feel you are open and approachable? Can you have honest, open, authentic conversations with the people around you? Environment, leadership, and resilience are the three vital ingredients that affect our well-being at work. Thank you for listening.